In an African village called Yumuko, there lived a tall and imposing woman called Manager by her colleagues, a name that had overshadowed her real name, Uzomoko. She towered above her fellow women. The ebony-skinned beauty and her husband were Christians. John married her from the village. Few months after, she started having a frequent falling out with her in-laws. Her snobbery was too bad for their liking. John was fed up with her. The day she slapped her father-in-law just because the old man dished out food from her pot was the day the family asked John to decide between them and his wife. Few days later, she left John despite his impassioned pleas and married her rich admirer from Owora village after her family paid back her bride price to John. She had not stayed long in her new home when heavy quarrels broke out between her and the in-laws. Manager was sent packing. John meanwhile had already married Maria from the village. She was already pregnant when Manager returned and headed back to John, who accepted her amidst wide resentment from family and relatives. His aged father warned him bitterly not to allow her in the family or else he would regret it for the rest of his life. John, if you have insatiable lust for women, you can marry another wife but not Uzomoko, his father had advised him. John defiantly went with a couple of his friends to repay her dowry and took Manager to farm where they farmed together, telling fellow clansmen that he preferred her to Maria, whom he beefed about her dullness. He often called Maria Cold Banana. Maria later delivered a girl, while Manager got pregnant and delivered the first son, Okena, the only child out of her 4 children that was fathered by John. Their marriage became an unholy mess years after, as John ran out of the entanglement with Manager and embraced Maria wholeheartedly. Manager whereupon joined the traditional religion. She told her friends that she took that decision to ease the pain of losing John to Maria. She was one of the few women that were traditionalists in the village. Many villagers joked that Manager's gluttony would not allow her stay in the church. They knew she would not resist the lavish livestock and foodstuffs, goats, fish, rice and so on, which families of any deceased female traditionalist must provide before Manager and her colleagues would agree to attend and conduct the funeral rites. Manager was their leader. Bereaved villagers would always plead with her to cut down on the list of items as things were becoming expensive by the day. But Manager would always stand her ground. "Look here," she would yell at the bereaved families, "if you don't want our deceased member to rest well with our ancestors, don't complete the list of items." They would always become fearful and complete the items. Manager and her few colleagues in the old religion would share among themselves. In fact, villagers trooped to her house to buy fish. Years later, John planned to validate and consolidate his sizzling union by taking Maria to the altar, but this was stalled by the doctrine of the church which prohibited polygamy. Severally, he pleaded with the priest that he had nothing again with Manager, that he was even ready to build a separate house for her in far vicinity. In one of the priest's visits to the compound, Manager was called. She yelled out when she was asked to speak, "Father, tell John to build a house for me in the farm. Tell John to build a house for me in the forest. Over my dead body will he wed Maria?" The priest giggled and replied her to allow those who wanted to get serious with their Christian faith be. She stormed out and it all ended.